a salute to the nation. Please be seated. Your Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and host of the Global Maritime Security Conference. Represented this morning by the Honorable Minister of State, Foreign Affairs, members of Nigeria's Federal Executive Council who are here present, specifically the Supervising Ministry for Maritime Security Affairs, the Honorable Minister of State Transportation, Ms. Bemi Saraki. She is here, I believe, in representation of the Honorable Minister of Transportation. They are pretty much responsible for all of us gathered here this morning. We greet you. Welcome. The Honorable Minister of Defense is amongst us, and it is good to see that we also have with us today the Honorable Minister in charge of the various designations, as I'm told that the person specifically responsible for running affairs of the state this morning. I'd like to greet and salute and welcome the representative of the Honorable Minister of Defense in the person of Haji Anura Batagarawa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense. It's good to see you. Today we have the Chief of Naval Staff for Nigeria, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ekwe Ibas, and Chiefs of Naval Staff participating countries to include Chiefs of Navies and heads of coastal areas. Secretary General of the IMO, Chairperson of the AU Commission, Executive Secretary of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, President, Economic Commission of Central African States, President ECOWAS, and also we have permanent secretaries in our midst from Nigeria, specifically the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Transport, Director General of NIMASA, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, is here with us, and basically he's, along with Ministry of Transport, Chief Host. It's good to see you. Also, we have heads of governments and extra-ministerial departments, members of the diplomatic corps present here with us, panelists and speakers, my lords, spiritual and temporal, distinguished participants, members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome you to this all-important conference on global maritime security.
Holding here in Abuja, the nation's capital. The three-day event put together by the Ministry of Transportation in collaboration with the Nigerian Navy is a gathering of international maritime security stakeholders from about 38 countries to brainstorm on ways of addressing pertinent security issues in the Gulf of Guinea. Piracy and robbery, sea and robbery at the sea, illegal fishery, smuggling and trafficking pose major threats to maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea and to the entire development of the entire region, with Nigeria inclusive. In 2016, statistics from the International Maritime Bureau record about 53 piracy attacks.
There are several sessions to deal with legal frameworks, to deal with collaborations, to deal with the relationship between maritime organizations and civil societies,
you are welcome,
and to deal with all issues that have to do with conflict resolution on the high seas. It is important that we look specifically at the Gulf of Guinea, which has become considered one of the dangerous areas of the world in ocean matters. I therefore wish to urge all of us that we pay attention to the discussions and the discussants, and we have quite a number of goodwill messages as we go along. At this point, I'd like to say bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Eugénie, je suis présentatrice et écrivaine. At the moment, I'd like to invite the gentleman who has great interest and a great expert in interpretation. I would like to ask Joyce Daniels, who is co-anchoring with me today, to come forward, after which we'll invite Mr. Honore Bingham, who is interpreter par excellence. Joyce.
Thank you, Eugenia Abu, and it's such an honor and privilege to welcome you all to Nigeria. I do hope you're enjoying our hospitality and our cuisine, especially our world-famous Nigeria jollof. If you haven't had it yet, please ensure you have some before you leave. Just to be aware, there are 3 major exits in this room. There's one to my left, which is your right. There's one to my right, and the main exits through which many of us came in. Out there to our left are the restrooms. Please check your phones now to be sure that they are silent or at least on vibrate mode so that we don't interfere with the proceedings today. If you need anything at any time, they're beautifully dressed ushers. Ushers, can you please wave your hands? Colorfully dressed ushers around the room, thank you so much. If you need anything, please beckon on any of them and they'll be happy to assist you. There is Wi-Fi available for those of us who may need to check on emails from time to time. The Wi-Fi password is very simple, GMSC 2019, Golf Mike Sierra Charlie 2019. And the hashtag, do you wish to tweet or put up posts on any of the social media platforms, is hashtag GMSC 2019, simple. Thank you and enjoy your stay in the conference and in Nigeria. Mr. Bingham, please. Join us up on stage.
Excellences, Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, je ne reviendrai pas sur le protocole parce que cela a déjà été dit par Madame Abou. Ça devrait vous prendre beaucoup plus de temps, mais je voudrais seulement vous dire que nous nous rassemblons ici aujourd'hui à l'occasion de cette grande conférence sur la sécurité de nos eaux. Parce que, comme vous le savez, c'est un sujet d'actualité. La piraterie maritime sur les littoraux et en haute mer est un danger, en particulier en ce qui concerne le golfe de Guinée. Donc je crois que c'est très opportun que cette réunion se tienne à Abuja, dans cette capitale verdoyante de la République fédérale du Nigeria, qui est un grand pays. Et je crois que vous aurez l'occasion de bénéficier de l'hospitalité de ce grand pays et de son peuple. Nous vous souhaitons de rester ici et d'avoir des discussions fructueuses et amicales dans une atmosphère de fraternité. Pour des problèmes pratiques, vous avez des huissiers dans la salle, je veux dire des stewards. S'il y a des problèmes, vous pouvez vous rapprocher d'eux et ils vont vous aider dans ce sens. Et je vous remercie. Soyons prêts pour le démarrage des travaux. Bonne nuit.
Je te remercie, Monsieur Bingham. I noticed that we have woken up perhaps to a good breakfast this morning, and although there are very serious issues we're going to be talking about, it's good to be a little cheerful. So I haven't heard anyone doing any clappings this morning. So let's hear a round of applause for Abuja and for Nigeria for hosting this event. Thank you very much. It is time now for us to invite a man who has held sway at an institution that is very critical to global maritime security. We have at our desk of the compares welcomed you, but it is his place to welcome all of you to this very important conference. Permit me to invite to deliver the welcome speech, Director General, CEO, NIMASA, Dr. Dakuku Peterson.
Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to especially acknowledge our chief host, the Honorable Minister of Transportation, here in person represented by the Minister of State Transportation, the distinguished Senator Gbemi Saraki. It is with a profound sense of gratitude that I welcome you all to this global maritime security conference organized by Nigeria. This conference is unique and comes at a critical time in our collective quest for solutions to issues affecting our socio-economic development as nations. As you are aware, maritime insecurity remains one of the significant challenges affecting global commerce and our quest for sustainable use of our ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihood, and to create jobs. Your Excellencies, many conferences have been convened around the world seeking solutions to the scourge of maritime insecurity, of which the Gulf of Guinea has been one of the hotspots, especially in recent times. Given these developments and considering the importance of the Gulf of Guinea and its navigational routes to international commerce, as well as global energy balance, Nigeria has taken the initiative by convening this global conference to examine maritime security challenges in the region. Nigeria is keen to drive this initiative because it is a significant destination in the international and domestic shipping map, accounting for over 65% of cargo generated and headed to the Gulf of Guinea region, with rich endowments of oil and gas reserves. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have delegates from 78 countries present here, and we have more than 40 maritime experts who will be making presentations in the course of this 3-day conference. The conference have 11 thematic sections which have been carefully chosen to ensure holistic coverage of the multidimensional issues associated with maritime security in the 21st century. In each thematic section, strategies for coordinating the implementation of international, continental, and regional frameworks on maritime security will be examined. At the end of the conference, it is expected that we would have achieved the following objectives. The first is to define the precise nature and scope of coordinated regional responses to maritime insecurity vis-à-vis intervention support from external actors and partners. We will have evaluated the relevance and impact of the various interventions initiated already to tackle maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea region, to revise and adapt them to address current challenges. We will deal decisively towards policy harmonization and practical implementation through regional integration and cooperation as a principal method of delivering effective and efficient security in the region. This conference would have preferred alternative approaches to prevent cyber security attacks and other forms of emerging maritime security threats. Of course, we will advocate for a more profound global commitment to the deployment of resources for ending maritime insecurity within the region timelessly. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates particularly, I am optimistic that we will achieve these objectives given the commitment of nations and persons gathered here. The success of this conference will go on to provide the platform and catalyst for enhanced and robust regional and international collaborations to deter and repress these challenges in the region. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, having set the tone for the expected deliverables for the conference, once again, I welcome you to the beautiful city of Abuja, Nigeria. Thank you and God bless.
Excellences, Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, le premier orateur de cette conférence, l'honneur est choix à Monsieur Daktoukou.
The Director General, Nimasa Dakuku Pisasai, speaking on the objective of the conference, which include defining the precise nature and scope of coordinated regional response to maritime insecurity, calculating the relevance of various external interventions, and moving towards policy harmonization and regional cooperation.
Les eaux territoriales, les eaux maritimes sont des menaces très très graves et qu'il faut essayer de réfléchir sur
matters. It's therefore very important to look for solutions to these threats in the Gulf of Guinea, and that is why we are all gathered here today. And he also said that he's expecting that our discussions will be quite robust and frank, and also at the end we'll be able to have recommendations that will help in overcoming the threats of the Gulf of Guinea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. For those of us who are using the headphones for translations, please be advised of the codes. If you would like to listen in English, the code is 1. For French, it is 2, Portuguese 3, and Spanish 4, just in case you need clarity on that. And the password for the Wi-Fi, please, sir.
Have you finished? No, don't worry.
Okay. The password for the Wi-Fi is all in block letters, GMSC 2019. The Gulf of Guinea is such an important part of global maritime, seeing a lot of insecurity recorded across the world happens in the Gulf of Guinea. Today we have in our midst the Executive Secretary of the Gulf of Guinea Commission to speak to us. Please join us, receive upstage Ambassador Florentina Adenike Ukonga as she comes forward.
Je m'excuse avant que Madame...
Before Madam will take her place on the podium, I would like to call our attention, particularly the Francophones here, that we have interpretation that you can get from French into English and English into French. For French is channel 2, and for English channel 1. For Portuguese it is 3. As an MC, as also a conference interpreter, I was very surprised to think that there were no interpreters, but that there are interpreters who are also going to be working in the course of this meeting. Thank you.
Please help us encourage her as she makes her way to the podium. Thank you very much. It's a very important position for what we're doing today. Please, Madam. Thank you.
Your Excellency, President Muhammad Buhari, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented by the Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Dada. Your Excellency, Honorable Rotimi Amechi, Honorable Minister of Transportation, I understand he's in the hall, ably represented by Senator Gbemi Saraki, Minister of State for Transportation, Vice Admiral Ibokete Ekwe Ibas, Chief of the Naval Staff of Nigeria, Dr. Dakuku Pittside, the Director General and the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Your Excellencies, High Commissioners and Ambassadors accredited to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as other members of the diplomatic corps here present, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. The Gulf of Guinea Commission is happy and highly honored to be part of the Global Maritime Security Conference, expertly organized by the Federal Ministry of Transportation of Nigeria in close collaboration with NIMASA and the Nigerian Navy. On behalf of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, of which Nigeria is the current chairman, I wish to congratulate the organizers of this important conference and equally congratulate all participants for deeming it worth their while to attend the conference. The large participation, 79 countries, shows the importance that is being accorded to issues of maritime security globally and in particular to maritime security in Africa, and more importantly, in the Gulf of Guinea region where Nigeria is located. Maritime security is a sine qua non to global shipping and to economic development of coastal states, with 38 of such states in Africa. It is also essential for a drastic reduction, if not a total eradication of criminal activities at sea, acts like piracy, armed robbery at sea, irregular, unreported, and undeclared fishing, dumping of waste, both domestic and industrial, environmental degradation from pipeline vandalism, and crude methods of exploitation and exploration of hydrocarbons, which lead to degradation and loss of valuable water resources and land, especially for coastal communities, not to mention the trafficking in arms, drugs, and human beings. Our mandate at the Gulf of Guinea Commission, as stated in Article 5 of our treaty, includes the identification of areas of common interest in the geographic areas of the Gulf of Guinea, and the mapping out of common policies, particularly in the areas of peace and security, exploitation of hydrocarbons, fishery, and mineral resources, the environment, movement of peoples and goods, development of communications, promotion of economic development, and integration of the Gulf of Guinea region. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this conference is of special interest to us as the theme and the sub-themes deal directly with all aspects of our mandate. The threats and consequences of maritime insecurity for the region require us to research innovative, achievable, and sustainable solutions. These solutions can only be found in a framework of permanent consultation and coordination of the activities of all the stakeholders of the region. Given the quality and expertise of the eminent personalities present at this conference, I'm convinced that this conference will be the cornerstone in the construction of global solutions to the recurring problems we have at sea. We are conscious of the fact that the path will be long and bumpy, but we are also determined to put an end to all those threats, no matter how long it takes. Before ending these remarks, I would like to salute all the organizations here present that are involved in the arduous task of making our maritime domain safe and secure, and to reiterate GGC's firm commitment to continue to work tirelessly with them towards finding solutions to the challenges that represent maritime insecurity for our countries and our region. I wish the conference successful deliberations with positive and impactful results on our combined efforts to enhance maritime security in our region, in Africa, and in the world. I thank you for your attention.
Madame.
The lady who have just made her presentation is the Executive Secretary of the Gulf of Guinea Commission. She spoke about the importance of this conference, and I think that the Commission itself is, at the end of the day, going to be the biggest beneficiary of the outcome of this important conference. Thank you.
Isn't it heartwarming to know that the stakeholders involved in global maritime security at the very highest level are gathered in this room today? We are delighted that the good ambassador has spoken, and she has spoken well. And she has talked easily about those things that we need to look at, which includes collaboration, stakeholder management, and management of interventions, as it were, because those are the areas really for which this conference was set aside. I'd like to note that Her Excellency Ambassador Hadiza Mustafa, advisor to the Chairperson of the African Union Commission on Peace, Security and Governance, is here with us, and she would be representing the Chairperson of the African Union Commission. I also see with my little eyes the Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Hadiza Balausman, who is here as a very critical stakeholder of all the conversations that will be going on today. It's good to see you. Welcome. At this point, it is important that we remember that as we have the program before us, as we continue to make progress in terms of where we are on the opening ceremony, we will be trying to fast track it so that people who need to go back to very high level state matters will be able to do so, as we are aware that there are several meetings holding today at the very highest level. It's time now for us to invite the President of ECOWAS Commission, Mr. Jean-Claude Bro, represented by Dr. Colonel Diane Abdurrahmani, Head of Division, Regional Securities.
Merci. Son Excellence, Excellence, Monsieur le Ministre d'État en charge de la Défense,
the Minister of Defense, His Excellency, the Head of the Nigerian Navy, the DG, NIMASA, Nigeria, Madam, the representative from African Union, the Executive Secretary of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, the representatives of the Central African Economic Committee, members of the Diplomatic Corps, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Diang, retired Head of Regional Security in charge of Maritime Security. I'm very happy to present this speech on behalf of the President of the ECOWAS Commission. Unfortunately, he is unavoidably absent because of other occasions. I therefore am here to actually read his speech, and this is written in English, please.
Honor and sense of noble expectation that I welcome you all in the Global Maritime Security Conference organized by the Federal Ministry of Transportation, Nigeria, in collaboration with the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and the Nigerian Navy on behalf of the President of the ECOWAS Commission, His Excellency Jean-Claude Bro. The hosting of the international event and the caliber of participants, institutions and organizations, ministries, departments and agencies highlight the collective responsibility and commitment of the international community in confronting and combating maritime insecurity. It is therefore important to recall the story of the rise of piracy, armed robbery at sea and other transnational maritime criminalities in the Gulf of Guinea. In particular, the tragic rise in piracy in 2011 in the region that adversely affected Benin Republic economic activities with drastic decline in shipping activities and the coordinated bilateral maritime operations between Nigeria and Benin Republic in 2011 codenamed Operation Prosperity. Operation Prosperity, which deploy personnel, ship and boats that effectively reduce piracy in Benin Republic. Additionally, the adopted United Nations Security Council Resolution 2018 and 2039 on maritime safety and security in the Gulf of Guinea. The resolution used Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Economic Community of Central African States, ECAS, and the Gulf of Guinea Commission to collectively work together to develop a comprehensive regional strategy in order to combat piracy, armed robbery, and other illicit activity committed at sea. The adopted resolution also encouraged effective collaboration and cooperation among member states in the Gulf of Guinea with a view to confronting the menace. And furthermore, the resolution specifically encouraged the summit of heads of state and governments to decisively tackle the issue. In this regard, the summit of the head of state and government was held in Yaoundé, Cameroon from 24 to 25 June 2013, and the following strategic documents were adopted. A political declaration of the head of state and government of West and Central African states on maritime security and safety in their maritime domain, which has been signed by all the head of states. A code of conduct concerning the repression of piracy, armed robbery against ships, and illicit maritime activity in West and Central Africa, signed by the Ministers of Foreign Affairs. But also a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, on maritime security and safety in West and Central Africa, signed by the head of institutions, ECOWAS, ECAS, and GGC. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. With regard to ECOWAS, a remarkable progress has been achieved in the implementation of its maritime security architecture. This process started with the adoption of a robust ECOWAS integrated maritime strategy and implementation plan by the 44th ordinary session of the Authority of ECOWAS Head of State and Government in Yamoussoukro, Côte d'Ivoire on 29 March 2014. The adoption of the AMS was preceded by the adoption of the African Integrated Maritime Strategy 2015 by the African Union in January 2014 at the continental level. The ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy is hinged on the following 5 strategic pillars: maritime governance, maritime security and safety, maritime environmental management, maritime economy, and the promotion of maritime domain awareness and research. The adopted strategy provides for the creation of an ECOWAS Regional Maritime Security Center called CRESMO, a French acronym, and 3 multinational maritime coordination centers, Zone E, F, and G. The MMCC Zone E consisted of Benin, Niger, Nigeria, and Togo, with the headquarters of the center in Cotonou, Benin Republic, while MMCC Zone F consists of Burkina Faso, Accra, Ghana. MMCC Zone F, Zone G, the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Mali, and Senegal, and the headquarters is located in Praia, Cabo Verde. The pilot MMCC Zone E has been inaugurated in 2015, and the pioneer staff have been seconded from member states. Also, CRESMO and Zone F have commenced operation with secondment of interim staff from the host nations. ECOWAS staffing meeting was also held in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire from 5th to 7th September 2018. During the meeting, ECOWAS member states pledged for various positions in the ECOWAS maritime centers. Also, inaugural meeting of the subcommittee of the ECOWAS Chief of Naval Staff responsible for the oversight function of ECOWAS maritime centers was held on the margin of the ECOWAS Committee of Chief of Defense Staff in Abuja, Nigeria, from 19 to 20 June 2019. In line with the outcome, Substantive staff and rotation of personnel of the centers will be conducted in the first quarter of 2020. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, over time, conduct annual maritime exercise in the Gulf of Guinea, which include United States and French-led Obangame Express and Grand Nemo, have increased coordination and collaboration in planning among member states and ECOWAS maritime centers. To this end, it is worth highlighting the effort in information sharing that facilitated the rescue of MT Maximus by Nigerian Navy ship Okbana in 2016, and also the arrest of Anuket member Ambadu in 2019 through coordinated efforts of Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and other maritime stakeholders. The joint maritime operation in MC Zone E and F, signed by the Chief of Naval Staff of Member States of MC Zone E and F in 30th August 2018, will further enhance coordinations. However, instrumental requirement and need for the operationalization of the ECOWAS maritime centers are enormous. Therefore, partners and international community are required to complement the process. It is also important to thank ECOWAS partners such as Denmark, France, Germany, United Kingdom, United States, and other stakeholders for their support. Finally, I wish to thank the organizers, and in particular the government of Nigeria, for the continuous commitment in enhancing maritime safety and security, which include the passing of anti-pirate bills, the harmonized standard operating procedures on arrest, detention, and prosecution of persons and vessels in Nigeria's maritime environment, and the ongoing efforts in finalization of the Nigeria National Maritime Strategy. On this note, I therefore wish you a successful Maritime Security Conference. Thank you.
As a representative of the ECOWAS President, would like to thank you for your intervention. It's time now for us to invite Her Excellency Ambassador Hadiza Mustafa, Advisor to the Chairperson of the African Union Commission on Peace, Security and Governance, to deliver her intervention. I'd like to urge our speakers to keep it short. We have distinguished personalities who need to go and attend to state matters. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Eugenia. Your Excellency, Republic of Nigeria, ably represented here, Honorable Ministers of Transport and Defense, also ably represented here, Chief of Naval Staff of Nigeria, representative of the ECOWAS Commission, Executive Secretary of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, members of the Diplomatic Corps and representative of international organizations, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great honor and privilege for me to represent my boss, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, at this important conference. Permit me to extend his apologies for not being able to be here. Nonetheless, he has asked me to express his best wishes for a successful meeting and to deliver the following messages. Your Excellencies, I thank you for the invitation extended to me and the Commission to participate in the conference on global maritime security. I regret that I'm unable to attend in person due to other continental commitments. I'm very grateful to the government of Nigeria for hosting the conference, which comes at a time when there is heightened global interest in maritime matters. Happily, the momentum created by this interest has awakened the zeal of the continent to pay more attention to its maritime domain. There is now a well-deserved recognition given to the potentials that exist in the maritime environment. Countries have come to realize the imperative of scaling up actions to tackle challenges of maritime safety and security, and to take full advantage of the opportunities in the oceans, seas, lakes, and rivers. This was the spirit behind the adoption of the 2050 Africa Integrated Maritime Strategy. Together with other continental and regional mechanisms such as the Lomé Charter, the strategy provides African Union member states with a comprehensive framework to address common challenges in the maritime environment. One of its key objectives is to ensure that the African maritime domain does not continue to be characterized as a war zone, risky or unsafe for navigation. Therefore, the strategy seeks to build the capacity of member states to take ownership of their waterways and be responsible for their own security and defense, as well as empower them to exploit maritime resources in a sustainable manner for the socio-economic development of the continent. The African Union Commission serves as the coordinating body for the implementation of the strategy and maritime frameworks. We continue to work together with member states to facilitate the signing and ratification of these important frameworks for effective implementation. I wish to use this opportunity to appeal to all countries that are yet to sign and/or ratify the frameworks to do so as soon as possible. Permit me to also say that it is only when we domesticate, implement continental and regional agreements that we can achieve our collective aspirations and advance our economic integration goals as enshrined in our Agenda 2063. I have no doubt that this conference will galvanize the necessary political buy-in of all member states and deepen collaboration among governments and stakeholders in the Gulf of Guinea region and beyond, so that together we can unlock the potentials of the blue economy. We need to change narrative that says that Africa's geostrategic location is more of a curse than a blessing. One way to do this is by using our location as the gateway to international trade to diversify our economies and expand intra-Africa trade as envisioned in the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by pointing out that nowhere is a balance required between ownership and partnership than in the maritime domain. This is where international laws and multilateral institutions can help. The continent must speak with one voice in the international arena. Demand for fair laws and regulations, as well as partnerships that are equitable, smart, and regulated in the mutual interest of all concerned. The Commission stands ready to support and work together with all regional economic communities to forge ahead. This ends the goodwill message of the Chairperson. I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Advisor to the Chairperson, AU Commission. Once again, please appreciate her and the entire AU Commission. She said collaboration is key in ensuring the security of our waters. The International Maritime Organization is here ably represented. The Secretary General of the IMO, His Excellency Kita Klim, is represented by a man who is about to come up here to give his brief remarks. He's a director of the Department of Member States Audit and Implementation Support. He has great experience in the directorate and also in maritime industry. Please let's welcome the Assistant Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Mr. Lawrence Barcho.
Excuse the protocol, it has already been established. After the President.
His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ministers, participants, I will stand on previous protocols. I bring you warmest greetings and regards from Mr. Keita Lim, the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, who regrets being unable to attend this important event due to prior commitments. It is my pleasure, therefore, to be here to speak on his behalf. As many of you may know, IMO is a specialized agency of the United Nations, responsible for developing the global regulatory regime for safe, secure, environmentally sound, efficient, and sustainable shipping. And IMO has been very successful in addressing every aspect of its regulatory mandate, thanks to the unflinching support and cooperation amongst its member states, the shipping industry, and the many intergovernmental organizations and non-governmental organizations that participate in its work. I wish to extend sincere thanks and appreciation to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and its institutions, collaborating partners, and industry for organizing and supporting this conference. Turning to the theme of this conference, which is ensuring that trade and travel by sea are as secure as possible, is a key element of IMO's work and mandate. Indeed, for trade to flow efficiently, the connections between ships, ports, and people must be secure, and a proper maritime security regime serves as the enabling factor for stability and prosperity within the ever-expanding domain of ocean governance. Overall, IMO's approach is to assist member states in enhancing their ability to address maritime security challenges, focusing on what the maritime industry, both the shipping and port sectors, can do to protect themselves, and for governments to provide the overarching security framework for global maritime trade. In dealing with physical security, such as piracy and armed robbery, the increasing threat of cybersecurity to shipping should not be ignored, and this has now joined the list of topics being addressed by IMO. The threat posed by piracy and armed robbery against ships has been on IMO's agenda since the early 1980s. In the late 1990s and the early 2000s, the focus was on the South China Sea and the Straits of Malacca and Singapore. More recently, the focus of piracy activity has turned to the African coast after the significant rise in such activities of Somalia and now the Gulf of Guinea. IMO has developed guidance on piracy for use by governments and ship owners operators. As well, the industry organizations and the shipping industry in particular has been very active in developing guidance on piracy and armed robbery. Underpinning all the work on maritime security, and which is crucial, is interagency, regional, and international cooperation and collaboration for the development of national and regional maritime security strategies. Nigeria, as convener and host of this conference, sits at the heart of the Gulf of Guinea. This region is noted for huge gas and oil reserves, minerals, and abundant fisheries. This, combined with the geophysical strategic location for shipping movement, makes this region a vitally important part of the global economy. Incidence of piracy and armed robbery in the waters of West Africa has the highest reported rate globally, and it has become an established disruptive activity of very serious concern. Incidents have recently occurred as far south as Angola and as far north as Sierra Leone. Attacks have become increasingly violent, often involving firearms, and cases of kidnapping for ransom have become more common. This is a serious concern of IMO with respect to the safety and security of seafarers. I will not go into the details on the development and now the Yawuni Code of Conduct, a code of conduct that was adopted concerning the repression of piracy, armed robbery against ships, and illicit maritime activity in West and Central Africa. What I would like to highlight that IMO, in furtherance of its goal and objectives, continues to support the efforts of the Economic Community of Central African States, the Economic Community of West African States, and the Gulf of Guinea Commission toward the development and adoption of a comprehensive joint regional maritime strategy to effectively fight piracy and related transnational criminal activities in the Gulf of Guinea within the framework of the Yawuni Code. Before I end my remarks, last month, IMO Secretary General Keith Tackling hosted a roundtable meeting at IMO headquarters with industry representatives, NIMASA, and IMO officers involved in maritime security. I can assure you that all involved are committed to working collaboratively to find solutions. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, your theme for this conference is Let's Join Hands to manage and secure our waters. Working together is something that IMO is fully on board with. Together, we can team up to deploy resources from all stakeholders in order to comprehensively address maritime security within the region. Let me once again congratulate the government institutions, the strategic partners, as well as the Inter-Regional Coordination Center, BIMCO, IMCA, ICS, OCIMF, and UNODC for hosting and supporting this conference. I wish you all a very successful conference and look forward to the debates and discussions in the sessions ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bacho, reminding us that we need more collaborations, highlighting some of the challenges, but we know that we need reassurances. If China was able to overcome, are we going to overcome? Are we overcoming? So please turn to somebody, say we can, and we will. Now, someone who is very sure that we can, we will, now,
with 34 seafarers kidnapped out of a total of 62 worldwide in 2016.
Vice Admiral Ibokete Ekweibas. Please welcome him. Welcome, sir.
Our special guest of honor, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, who is ably represented by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Zubairu Dada, the Honorable Ministers of Transportation and Defense, Your Excellencies, heads of navies and coast guards, admirals, generals, and air marshals, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm highly delighted to join in welcoming all our esteemed guests, my fellow chiefs of navies and their worthy representatives, distinguished maritime leaders, and strategic partners from the Gulf of Guinea and beyond, who have accepted invitation to participate in this all-important conference. I wish to particularly commend the Honorable Minister of Transportation for the initiative and the guidance to hold this conference, and to further appreciate the opportunity given to the Nigerian Navy to partner in organizing and hosting this conference. Clearly, the outstanding attendance at this summit is indicative of the commitment by all stakeholders to collaborate in finding sustainable solutions to the challenges across our maritime environment. The current security challenges in the Gulf of Guinea inarguably are of serious concern to all of us gathered here, including the larger global community, as criminal activities at sea are directed at the economic life and developmental prospects of our individual countries and the African continent at large. Recently, there have been increasing calls for improved collaboration and enforcement of maritime security laws by regional partners and stakeholders towards enhanced maritime security within the region. While acknowledging some gains of such efforts, this conference presents yet another opportunity to harness collaborative initiatives towards curbing the maritime security challenges in the region with greater urgency. I therefore find the theme of this conference, Enhancing Maritime Security in the Gulf of Guinea, Together We Win, very timely and relevant. Nigeria's maritime environment is a vast sea area endowed with abundant deposits of hydrocarbon. It's also home to a substantial biodiversity of marine resources, which provides a cost-effective medium for movement of goods and services. The connectedness of the maritime domain, particularly the Gulf of Guinea, indicate that the development in distant maritime areas could have an immediate and direct impact on Nigeria's prosperity and security. For this reason, the Nigerian Navy over the years focused on improving its capacity to underwrite maritime security within Nigeria's immediate waters and across the Gulf of Guinea. Recent security developments within Nigeria's maritime environment stem largely from non-military causes, such as socio-economic agitations, rising populations, unemployment in coastal communities, and the illicit activities of local and foreign collaborators. These manifestations include attacks on shipping, sabotage of hydrocarbon infrastructure, maritime resource theft, diverse forms of illicit trafficking and maritime pollution. The increasing mutation and migratory tendencies of these challenges across national boundaries expose systemic limitations to maritime presence and law enforcement at sea. Gladly, recent efforts by Nigeria, in concert with its neighbors and partner nations, have proven useful in containing the associated threats. For instance, the 2013 Yaoundé Declaration between member states of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the Economic Community of Central African States led to the adoption of an interregional code of conduct to facilitate inter-Navy cooperation. Under the ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy, the Nigerian Navy, along with ECOWAS Zone E navies and the Gendarmerie of Niger Republic, also recently endorsed an MOU for joint patrol of their common maritime domain. Internally, drawing from its total spectrum maritime strategy, the Nigerian Navy has sustained the operational concept of maritime trinity of action, comprising surveillance capabilities, response initiatives, and law enforcement to combat maritime crimes. Consistent funding over the past 4 years has impacted positively on Nigeria's Navy's surveillance and maritime domain awareness infrastructure. The Nigerian Navy has acquired offshore patrol vessels, fast attack craft, logistic vessels, hydrographic ship, and more than 300 inshore patrol craft, while concurrent efforts has been made to encourage operational training and indigenous shipbuilding capacity. Naval security stations have also been established at strategic locations along the coast as part of choke point concept to checkmate illicit activities. This has paid off with the arrest of about 206 vessels and barges, as well as hundreds of suspects for various maritime offenses in the past 4 years, aside incalculable deterrence value. Additionally, to enhance maritime law administration, the Navy, in conjunction with maritime law enforcement agencies, has also articulated a harmonized procedure to enhance the synergy among stakeholders in the arrest and prosecution of maritime offenders. The totality of aforementioned efforts has increased regional collaboration, resulting in more vectored patrols and increased efficiency in naval operations. Considering the security gains so far, the Nigerian Navy intends to consolidate current collaborative efforts, sustain fleet renewal, and expand its maritime awareness infrastructure, while acknowledging the efforts of other stakeholders, as well as our international partners who have continued to support these initiatives. It is pertinent to state that there remains a huge gap in the capacity of navies and coast guards of the region to address prevailing threats. These gaps are largely due to inadequate political will by governments of the Gulf of Guinea states to adequately resource their navies and coast guards for effective maritime security. I am optimistic that this conference will provide fresh opportunity for member states and our partners to reinforce our resolve to speedily operationalize maritime security initiatives. This would bolster capacity of regional navies to effectively meet demands of ensuring a safer and more secure maritime domain. On this note, I wish to once again welcome you all to this conference and wish us all a fruitful and rewarding deliberations. Thank you, and onwards together.
Vice Admiral Ekwe Ibas, Chief of the Naval Staff, Nigeria. And you can see by just looking in the hall, the number of whites you see in uniform are the top echelon of the Naval Command across the world, really, because I see quite a number of people. And I really wanted to join, but I just thought to myself, if you wear white all day, that's such hard work. The Chief of the Naval Staff, so we thank you for your intervention. It's time now for us to invite a woman after my heart, my friend and sister, who today is sitting in a position of great importance to global maritime security. And she is this morning representing the Honorable Minister of Transport, distinguished parliamentarian, politician par excellence, the very distinguished Bemisola Rukaya Saraki, Honorable Minister of State Transport.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented by the Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, permit me to stand on existing protocol. We've had protocol in both English and French. I think that should be sufficient to save a bit of time. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to welcome you all on behalf of the conveners of this conference. This conference is organized to examine and address the issues of maritime security with a spotlight on the Gulf of Guinea region. No doubt, there is significant global concern on the rising spate of maritime insecurity and the perception that the Gulf of Guinea region accounts for most of these cases. It is for this reason that Nigeria has decided to take the lead on behalf of the Gulf of Guinea states in convening this conference to examine the strategies and coordinated responses in place to address maritime insecurity. Whilst there have been several endeavors to address the broad array of real and potential threats in the Gulf of Guinea over time, The approach this time is to appraise the relevance and impact of the various interventions already initiated to tackle maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea and to revise and adapt them to address the current challenges. The absence of legal framework within member states seems to be a significant challenge in the regional effort to stem the tide. Nigeria, in this regard, thankfully put in place detailed legislation in the form of the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act that Mr. President signed into law on the 24th of June 2019. This act would tackle and repress piracy and other maritime crimes in Nigeria, in the Nigerian maritime domain. An integrated maritime security architecture has also been in place with a command and control center for effective policing of the Nigerian waters. The initiative encompasses three main components. The first one is a C4I intelligence system to enhance domain awareness, acquisition of land, air, and marine assets for patrols, quick response, and the training and capacity building of the response teams to effectively respond to threats and incidences within the maritime domain. Our perspective as nation states today has a linkage to maritime security, considering that over 90% of world international trade is by sea. Thus, striving to maintain safe, secure shipping in our seas and oceans is non-negotiable. I firmly believe that the result of our efforts will foster better cooperation in addressing the challenges of maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea for the overall benefit of member states and the world at large. As we open the dialogue and explore maritime security options for dealing with the challenges and opportunities to forge new alliances, the development of practical ideas and initiatives will undoubtedly be birthed through the robust discussions that will surely come in the next few days of this conference. This, no doubt, will complement already existing initiatives in the African region. I am proud to welcome you all to Nigeria and the Gulf of Guinea. This conference is made possible by the Nigerian government and supported by the leading international organizations and industry stakeholders who share a common vision of seeing a safe and secure Gulf of Guinea that will remain the epicenter of economic, political, military, and cultural medley. The most valuable element at the heart of the solution we seek is collaboration and partnership. I have no doubt in my mind that this conference will push the realization of security solutions we seek for the Gulf of Guinea and the global shipping community. Thank you all.
Minister of State Transportation Gbemisola Saraki, speaking on the rising insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea and the measures federal government have put in place to tackle this situation. She also called for a more foster cooperation by other members in addressing insecurity challenges in the Gulf of Guinea.
May I now invite. It will seem that I have my sisters all over the place this morning. The representative of the Honorable Minister of Defense, Hajianura Batagarawa, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense, to deliver her intervention.
Your Excellency, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, ably represented by the Minister of State Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Zubair Dada. Members of the Federal Executive Council here present, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Minister of Defense is unavoidably absent. He, however, sends his apologies and wishes you successful deliberations. His remarks read thus. I'm greatly delighted at the opportunity of presenting this remark on the occasion of the Global Conference on Maritime Security. I offer my profound appreciation for your kind invitation and felicitate with the Minister of Transport, the Chief of the Naval Staff, the Director General of NIMASA, and indeed the nation's entire maritime sector on the occasion of this most auspicious dialogue. I commend the organizers, including their worthy partners from within and outside the country, for your thoughtfulness in convening the conference, and gladly join you to welcome the incredibly rich blend of attendees and guests to this international discourse. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to begin by reiterating that Africa's maritime domain remains strategic and extremely crucial to the development of its nations. Unfortunately, Africa's usage of the seas is still largely spoken of in potential terms, reflecting poorly the impressive progress of other sections of the world. The vast expanse of its waters, infamously typified by the unsavory reputation of its key region, the Gulf of Guinea, is persistently challenged by a myriad of threats. Some of the threats impinging on the regional security are piracy, sea robbery, drug and human trafficking, as well as the worrisome pipeline vandalism and crude oil theft. Others are illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, proliferation of small arms and light weapons, terrorism, and environmental degradation. Unarguably, these threats constitute serious impediments with adverse consequences on collective maritime governance and economic well-being of nation states. Therefore, to say that no meaningful development can take place in these states in an atmosphere of insecurity is only for emphasis. As discomforting as these threats would appear, however, they are not insurmountable. Hence, the clarion call for the enthronement of constructive, proactive, sustainable, and holistic maritime security architecture. Achieving such structure would, however, remain a mirage against half-hearted efforts. Accordingly, Africa needs to be committed in embracing core attributes such as the elimination of sea blindness, sincerity of purpose, strength of character, and above all, the will of all member states and stakeholders to effectively cooperate and collaborate for enduring maritime security. Special guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted in this regard to report that the African continent and its sub-regions are increasingly acting in affirmation of a full consciousness of these imperatives, and this forum is auspicious for acknowledgement of their encouraging steps. Following the adoption of the Africa's Integrated Maritime Strategy 2050 in 2014, which relies essentially on the initiative and commitment of the regional economic communities, ECOWAS, like its counterparts of other sub-regions, created the sub-regional offshoot, the ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy. In about 4 years of the implementation of the ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy, multilateral zones of cooperation have been created and process of collaboration deepened through staging of maritime security dialogues, information sharing, combined exercises and training, integrated tactical communication, and even combined patrols and manning. Nigeria, particularly through its Navy, has been greatly instrumental to this attainment. Internally, government has consolidated this continental leap through the three-pronged approach of repositioning its maritime agencies and their processes, strengthening the Navy and repackaging the legislative framework. Commendable as these endeavors might be, however, they are sadly, clearly inadequate. The conference, therefore, provides us yet another avenue as maritime stakeholders in the Gulf of Guinea particularly to reminisce on the imperatives of improving on our attainments and achievements. To this end, our collective focus should go beyond the usual rhetoric to clearly identify specific measures to prudently build capacity and sensibly commit it to answer our maritime security concerns on a sustainable basis. Against this backdrop, I'm confident that the theme of the conference, which is enhancing maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea, Together We Win, is very apt to guide a broad-based discourse. In the same vein, the topics have been thoughtfully selected to agitate our minds not only on the kinetic solutions, but also the non-kinetic approaches, including appraisal of viable financial alternatives for shipping, shipbuilding, and repair capacity, marine insurance, manpower and human capacity development. Others are research and development and the application of technology, port development, modernization and infrastructural upgrade of the logistic down chain, all of which are indispensable to the optimization of maritime blessings and enhancing of maritime security. Against these declared expectations, this conference, to all intents and purposes, should therefore not pass as a mere talk shop. You would have to be frank and sincere in preferring solutions that are implementable in the immediate, short, and medium term. I urge you, therefore, to avail this opportunity to contribute as much as you can during the deliberations so that at the end we may all leave here with a cocktail of new ideas. It is my fervent belief that if this approach guides and shapes our interaction on this conference, the resolutions will be far-reaching towards instating viable options to tackle maritime security challenges in the Gulf of Guinea and indeed beyond. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me once more commend this initiative and pledge the commitment of the Armed Forces of Nigeria to its outcomes. It is my hope that the post-conference activities will be similarly backed by the kind of resolve that yielded the holding of this conference. Once again, thank you for inviting me and wish you successful deliberations.
The Permanent Secretary in the Defense Ministry, Haji Anura Batagarawa, representing the Minister of Defense. Your Excellency, representative of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I'd like to crave your indulgence to permit me to use 30 seconds, sir, to do a little bit of housekeeping. As we go forward, at some point, we will be divided into various groups for the thematic sessions. I've been told to inform you that those sessions are quite similar. And so if you do go into the halls and the various sections, don't feel that you're losing out on anything because they're quite similar. And if the hall is full for what you want, please be directed to go wherever you're being asked to go because the other session, they're all interwoven. I'd like also to crave the indulgence of His Excellency to do a 15 seconds rush of recognitions here to show the range of those who have come here to listen to the work that is going on. The representative of the Chief of Army Staff is here. Major General Nyam is in this room with us. The Chief of Army Staff's representative, we thank you for coming. The representative of the GMD NNPC, Chief Operating Officer, Engineer Yemi Adetunji, is in the room with us. The Executive Secretary, Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Simon Wabote,
is here with us. We have also the representative of the Deputy Senate President, Dame Easy Ann, Special Advisor on Maritime to the Senate President, is here with us this morning. We have the Managing Director, NIDAS, a subsidiary of NNPC, Mr. Lawal Shade, and also the Group General Manager, NNPC Shipping, Aisha Katagum. I see a couple of distinguished senators in the room, former governors in the room. Distinguished Danjuma Goje is here, I can see him. I can see also various other senators sitting down in the room, all distinguished personalities. I'd like to thank you for being here, and I welcome you most sincerely. Thank you very much, all of you, for staying the time. At this point, I'd like to invite to the podium the representative of His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. This morning is represented by the Honorable Minister of State Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Ambassador Zubairu Dada.
The Honourable Ministers of Transportation and Defence, distinguished Senators here present, Honourable Members of the House of Representatives, the Chief of Naval Staff, other visiting Chiefs of Naval Staff and other senior defence and security officers, permanent secretaries, members of the diplomatic corps, and representatives of international organizations, the Secretary General, the DG NIMASA, other distinguished participants, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. As the Master or the Director of Ceremonies has told you, I am here to represent His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, who is unavoidably absent this morning. He would have wished to be here with you, but for some very pressing state matters. He's therefore asked me to apologize to you and to read his address verbatim, and that I intend to do. And he says, on behalf of the government and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I warmly welcome you to this first ever Global Maritime Security Conference. Stakeholders in the global maritime industry are gathered here today at a critical time to deliberate on issues of global maritime security. More importantly, we are confident that this conference will give birth to innovative solutions and offer new mechanisms and strategies that will deepen global commitment towards ensuring effective and efficient security in the Gulf of Guinea and other critical areas essential for world maritime trade. The discussions on the theme, managing and securing our waters at this conference are not new, but the increase in threats to safe, secure shipping globally, however, heightened the focus on it, given the impact on global trade and the economic prosperity of our nations. With the world's waters accounting for over 80% of transportation requirements in the global trading supply chain network across the established international routes and trade lanes, the threats of piracy and armed robbery at sea are an issue of global concern. Sadly, the Gulf of Guinea today is at the epicenter of maritime security discussions globally, given the incidents recorded in the region. Available statistics, however, indicate that efforts to eradicate the menace by the government in the region are bearing dividends. For example, the IMB Piracy Reporting Center has recently reported, and I quote, "A welcome and marked decrease in attacks in the Gulf of Guinea for the second quarter of 2019, particularly commending the Nigerian Navy for actively responding to reported incidents by dispatching patrol boats," unquote. The convening of this timely conference here in Nigeria is an indication that we will not relent in our efforts to rid our waters of the piracy scourge. To succeed in our objective, a collective effort from all stakeholders represented here today is essential. I reiterate the need for a joint effort because security in the Gulf of Guinea is vital and central to global trade in view of the fact that many critical trade routes connecting the continent to the rest of the world run through this Gulf. Also, the Gulf of Guinea encompasses diverse geographical, geological, and rich cultural heritage, with many of its states endowed with vast oil and gas deposits critical in addressing global energy demands. More so, as the African continent forges ahead with Phase 2 negotiations for the creation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, safety and security of sea transportation are critical to seamless trade and effective economic integration. Our approach, therefore, towards the realization of maritime security in the region and other vital sea lanes is contingent on our collective effort and ability to put in place international, continental, regional, and national frameworks and resources in cooperation with critical stakeholders. It is expedient to highlight that the international treaties of maritime security provide robust mechanisms for cooperation amongst maritime nations in the fight and suppression of maritime crimes. While the continental and regional frameworks, which draw inspiration from the international treaties on piracy and other maritime crimes, provide useful mechanisms for cooperation among member states to address security concerns in the Gulf of Guinea and the African continent, it is noteworthy to mention in this regard that the 2013 Declaration of Heads of State and Government of Central African States on maritime safety and security in their common maritime domain, the 2050 Africa Maritime Integrated Strategy, and ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy represent pioneering frameworks for collaboration, cooperation, and shared information among member states. Many maritime states in the region have dedicated considerable attention in recent years to the development, drafting, and implementation of national and regional maritime strategies, Nigeria inclusive. I am pleased to mention that Nigeria has put in place a Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act, which I signed into law on the 24th of June 2019. The Act, in essence, seeks to give further credence to the relevant international treaties of the United Nations and International Maritime Organization ratified by Nigeria and the continental and regional treaties subscribed to on maritime safety and security. It is detailed and will provide the much-needed legal and institutional framework for Nigeria to ensure safe and secure shipping in Nigerian waters. In addition to the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act, this administration has also put in place an integrated national surveillance and waterways protection solution with command and control infrastructure. The deliverables from the project have bolstered Nigeria's maritime security architecture and increased monitoring and compliance enforcement within the Nigerian waters and the exclusive economic zone. The Nigerian Navy has also stepped up collaborative efforts with other maritime security agencies aimed at achieving a safe and secure maritime domain. Presently, we are working on a maritime transport plan and strategy, which, when completed, will provide a robust enabling framework for achieving Nigerian maritime objectives. More importantly, the maritime transport plan and strategy will foster public-private sector collaboration and interregional cooperation on maritime security across the continent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this conference is an essential step in a continuing shift in strategic thinking about global maritime security, and will no doubt provide an opportunity for stakeholders here present to develop strategies to improve maritime safety and security globally, with an emphasis on the Gulf of Guinea region. I commend the Federal Ministry of Transportation, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and the Nigerian Navy for their leading role in planning the conference on behalf of Nigeria. In conclusion, I charge us all to continue to work together towards the security of our waters and trade routes for our economic prosperity. On this note, I wish you fruitful deliberations and hereby declare the conference open. I thank you very much.
Indeed, Nigeria has taken the lead for this Global Maritime Security Conference, especially, as you heard, from His Excellency, the President's speech as delivered by His Excellency, the good Ambassador, Minister of State Foreign Affairs, because it is important that the Gulf of Guinea is well addressed, considering that Nigeria accounts for 65%
calls for collective efforts from all stakeholders in tackling maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea. Declaring the conference open, representative of President Muhammadu Buhari, the Minister of State Foreign Affairs, Zubairu Dada, commended the organizers for the conference, stating that Nigeria has stepped up effort in tackling the insecurity challenges in this region. He calls for a collective effort from all relevant stakeholders in tackling maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea.
Coming from that area, 13 of the 18 ships hijacked comes from the Gulf of Guinea, and 6 global hijackings have taken place there. 78 of 83 seafarers kidnapped in 2018 have also been from the Gulf of Guinea. There was a slight error when I introduced the gentleman who is holding fort for Nigeria, the Nigerian Content Development Office. The Executive Secretary is Mr. Simbi Wabute. I want to believe that I may have called him Simon, so my apologies. I also see the distinguished Senator Morrow. I also see, with my little eyes, the Presidential Advisor on Niger Delta Affairs, my friend, the very distinguished Senator. It's good to see you both. At this time, I'd like to call on Joyce to come and keeping announcements. Permit me, Your Excellency, there would be photographs, and she would be giving us the order of photographs before we go to tea break. I am aware that the EU Commission is here, and I'm also aware that the Ambassador to Nigeria from Denmark is here, and the representatives of the United Nations bodies are also here. We have not taken you for granted, but if we did all the recognitions, we'll never carry on. So at this point, I'd like to invite Joyce to come and do housekeeping, after which I'd ask Mr. Honore Bingham to help also do a quick announcement of those housekeeping even though I know you're wearing your headsets. So we'll keep it very short, so our distinguished personalities will be on their way to attend to state matters. I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thematic sessions will hold in the Executive Hall and in Aso Hall. Executive Hall is out to the foyer to our left. Out to the foyer to our left. That's where the Executive Hall is. The Aso Hall is outside to our left. Outside to our left. Please be advised, it is not at Taraba Hall, it is at the Aso Hall, way outside to our left. Members of the press, please be advised to meet us up at the Media Center upstairs. We are not allowed into the thematic sessions. We will just be up there in the Media Center.
Conference holding here in Abuja.
For the photos,
the
please.
First of its kind
Your
in
Excellency,
Africa.
the representative of
it is a tactical conference between developing countries, developed countries, and high international partners to find solutions to the problem that is affecting global commerce, which is about 90% and said to be conducted via seaborne trade. The scourge of maritime insecurity, especially in the Gulf of Guinea, has been of great concern to key players.
Thank you. We're being guided properly. Security, please advise, please guide. Please come up. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Et s'il vous plaît, il y a des annonces administratives. Avec, nous allons maintenant nous diviser en 2 groupes de travail. Il y a une salle par la droite.
Well, thank you for being with us for the 2019 opening ceremony of the Global Maritime Security Conference holding in Abuja. At the end of the deliberation, participants are expected to come out with strategic declaration that will, among other things, drive international collaboration to tackle the menace and lasting solutions to maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea. On behalf of the production crew, we thank you very much as we hand you over to the regular programming in our studio.